Am I the a-hole for leaving a vacation I planned for my girlfriend after her friends came along? My girlfriend Sarah, 29, and I, male 28, have been dating for 5 years, and I wanted to go on a vacation with her to celebrate. I planned a trip for several months, and of course, I shared my plans with her. I decided on skiing/snowboarding/other winter activities in Colorado. The activities seemed perfect, and I was looking forward to this for months because I wanted to propose to her at the end of the trip. 5 days before the trip, Sarah dropped the ball on me that she invited 2 of her friends to meet her there. I was upset because I wanted to spend one-on-one time with Sarah for our anniversary. I feel like it was plain and clear that this was a trip for just us. Even though I expressed my concerns, Sarah insisted that her friends already made plans to come and won't back out. I decided to accept this because there was no way for me to force her friends to not come. But I wish I fought more on this. I figured we could make some changes to our plans, and I would still be able to propose to her privately. Sarah essentially blew me off for her friends, and we didn't get any private time. After 3 days of being in second place, I decided to leave the trip and head home. I told Sarah why I was leaving, and she was upset. She told her friends about my decision, and I was ganged up on. They said we were all having a great time. She thinks I'm being a jerk for making her pick between her friends and me, even though her friends weren't invited in the first place. I never had personal issues with her friends prior to this trip. I never made Sarah pick between me or her friends because everyone needs a friend outside of a relationship. I'm at home now and thinking about everything. I have a day to myself before Sarah comes home, so at least I get to relax a bit. Sarah and her friends think I'm overreacting and think I ruined the trip. I think Sarah was disrespectful and rude to me by ruining the purpose of this trip and having her friends gang up on me. Am I the a-hole for leaving a vacation I planned for my girlfriend after her friends came along? Edit. This was a planned anniversary/romantic trip. I was clear that we have plans for just us two. We've been on other anniversary trips together without our friends there. We did discuss marriage beforehand, so it's not like a proposal would have been out of the blue. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You sure you still want to propose? This. Even if it wasn't a proposal trip, it was so disrespectful of Sarah to basically pull the rug out from under him and get her friends to gang up. To do that to someone you've dated for 5 years? Jeez. I would sit her down and go through the plans you had, including the proposal. Watch the Pikachu face, and then tell her you need time apart to reevaluate the relationship. So let me get this straight. 1. You spent months planning a vacation for the 2 of you. 2. You paid for said vacation. 3. She invited her friends and didn't tell you until it was too late for them to cancel. 4. You made requests for alone time, and she rebuffed those efforts to hang out as a group with her friends. Buddy, she found a ring and knew your plan for the weekend. Not the a-hole. Might want to consider planning for a different future. Info, is it possible she knew you were going to propose and did this intentionally to avoid it? That is what worries me. We discussed marriage beforehand and everything seemed great. This was a planned anniversary/romantic trip, so the nature of it was plain and clear. I hope you're reading all the other posts here. Not the a-hole and her inviting others along without telling you until it was too late for them to cancel. Blowing you off on the trip and then ganging up on you is absolutely not the behavior of a life partner. And I 100% guarantee you will live to regret marrying this person, even if you later proposed and she said yes. Sorry this is happening to you, but much better you found out now than after the fact. I've been trying to respond to the comments as best I can. I didn't realize this would blow up this much. Everyone here has given me a lot to think about and her logic of bringing her friends. I'll update in a day or 2 if I'm up for it. Minor update. My friends are here at the house and they have been running potential interference, just in case her friends try to bombard and harass me. They've been great and I'm so glad to have them. Next story. Am I the a-hole for leaving without my friend when I agreed to pick her up? I cannot stand people being late to things. Well, if you were late and you were getting there yourself, I don't care. But if I'm there to pick someone up or we are leaving together, I need them to be on time. I refuse to be late because of another person. It's a big issue for me because growing up, my parents would be late to everything. We'd always arrive at a movie 10 minutes plus into the movie, like after the commercials. If we were supposed to be somewhere, I just knew we'd be late. Even to important things that would reflect poorly on me, that make me late to all of them. So if I say we are leaving at this time or I will pick you up at this time, I mean that time. My friends know this. They make jokes about times when I pulled up and waited until the exact time and just drove off to the destination. Recently, we had a 4-day getaway with a few friends planned. One of my chronically late friends that knows how I am with these things asked me to pick her up. I told her that we were leaving at this exact time, and that if she isn't there, I'll just go. I've never picked her up before, but she usually arrives late to hang out, which I don't mind. As long as you're not making me late, I don't care. You can miss half the movie for all I care. The day came and I drove to her apartment. I was a few minutes early and texted that I was there. I didn't get a response until the agreed time she said she'd be at the car. She said just a few minutes. I texted that I am going to the airport and that she should arrange an Uber. I just drove off, and like 40 minutes later while I was at the airport, she called me asking where I was, which told me that I would have been waiting there for 40 minutes, so I think I made a good choice. I told her that I said I was going to the airport. She said she thought I was joking and got angry, and even said such a typical man. She ended up missing the flight and having to take a later flight and miss the first day of the vacation. My friends are on my side and think it's silly that she's still so upset about it. They're like, you know how he rolls. This was your fault. And why would you expect someone to wait 40 minutes? Her best friend that is also friends with us, however, is taking her side and said I was mean. I guess I do feel bad because we all put money toward this vacation and she missed the whole day of it. Am I the a-hole? Info. Would she have made it to the flight had you waited for her? Or would you both have missed the flight? Like, did she miss the flight because she was 40 minutes late? Or because getting the Uber and everything took extra time on top of that? If I waited 40 minutes, we would have missed the flight. She called me like I just got outside where are you 40 minutes later. $10 says she used your arrival notice as a wake-up call, then showered and got ready. And packed. I had a friend that would do this crap. He would always demand everyone be at his house at a particular time, and we'd get there and he'd still be sleeping without his bags packed. We'd never get on the road for 40 to 60 minutes. And I just don't get it. If my flight is before 5 p.m. the next day, my bag is packed the day before and ready to go, so that if there's any hiccups, I at least have that ready to go. If it actually took her 40 minutes, then not the a-hole. However, I do think you should have given her a little more of a chance when you were waiting. Something like, if you're not out in 5, I'm gone for real. It's okay to give a little leeway to friends. Except she messaged 40 minutes later, where are you? Yeah, I understand a point about giving friends a little leeway, especially for something like an airport drive. And if the friend had immediately replied to the initial text saying I'm running 5 minutes late, and really was only running 5 minutes late, and Opie drove off anyway, I'd call that an a-hole move. But the friend ignored a text and was apparently actually 40 minutes late. So Opie did nothing wrong. Even if he had given 5 minutes leeway, it wouldn't have made a difference. Not the a-hole. She knows you, but never thought you'd actually follow through. This is totally on her. Wouldn't have been a problem if she'd stuck to the time she agreed to in the first place. And wow, she didn't notice until 40 minutes later? Either she enjoys the power of holding people to her schedule, or she's really just so unorganized that she can't keep it together. Either way, not your problem. She caused herself to miss her flight and her first day of vacation. Hope she learns. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend to go and ask to be adopted by the couple she's so obsessed with? My girlfriend Katie made a new friend a few months ago, Mary. Katie talked about her a lot. Mary said this, did that, started teaching her something, etc. I thought it was a bit weird how much Katie seemed to look up to Mary, but I didn't think much of it until Mary's husband Joe entered the picture too. From then on, Katie talked about their relationship all the time. How they do things, how they divide the chores, how respectful are they to each other. Basically, how they are just the best couple ever. I've met them too, and they're honestly nothing special. Maybe a bit on the boring side even. Yesterday evening, Katie was once again going on about them, saying things like Mary and Joe are true soulmates, and theirs is the healthiest relationship she had ever seen, blah blah. I had a really long day at work, so I told her I don't want to hear about them. I don't care about her creepy crush on this random couple, but if she likes them so much, she should go and ask them to adopt her, or ask if she can be their third. Katie then gave me the cold shoulder and left to go home to her apartment instead of sleeping at my place like she was supposed to. I need to know if I'm right and her obsession is creepy, or if I'm not seeing something right and I'm the a-hole here. Now for the comments. You're the a-hole. My friend, she's trying to tell you what she wants out of your relationship without hurting you or making you feel defensive. While you're not wrong and he's the a-hole, she needs to open her mouth and actually say what she wants. All of this hinting and subliminal messaging is not the way, and all it's doing is creating discord. He isn't picking up on hints. All he sees is her constantly fawning over two people, and he doesn't get it even after meeting them. If she wants her boyfriend to change, then she needs to lay it out for him what she's looking for in a relationship. To be fair to Katie, a bunch of internet strangers read a second-hand account of what she said, and we got it. Katie then gave me the cold shoulder and left to go home to her apartment instead of sleeping at my place like she was supposed to. I cringed reading this. She has no obligation to stay with you. I'm glad I'm not crazy. I saw this too and immediately was like, yeah, he does not care. Update. She finally texted me back. She wrote a long message saying that she had tried everything with me, and she thought that if she was patient and clear about her needs, I would eventually change for her. But she realized, thanks to Mary and Joe, that it's not her job to raise a man and get her boyfriend to respect her. She wrote a lot of other things about Mary too, like that Mary's truly proud of her husband and looks up to him. Meanwhile she, Katie, can't find it in herself to look up to me in anything and so on. So yeah, I hope you all are happy. You got what you wanted. Last story. Am I the a-hole for arguing with my fiancé after she left my child at home and took only her kids on an outing? Backstory. My fiancé and I have been together for about 4 years. She has 2 kids, 12 and 15 girls, with shared custody. It's an odd arrangement. She only has them January to June. Early September, she moved into our house. My daughter Charlie's 10. For the record, up until recently, she has been an amazing mother figure to Charlie. Our first issue was back in November as we discussed bedroom arrangements. She felt her eldest should have a room of her own while living her 6 months out of the year. That would cause Charlie to bunk with her youngest. I, however, did not allow it, because that would encroach on Charlie and likely cause her to feel alienated in her own home. Last weekend, I was called in and worked a 12-hour shift. When I arrived home, Charlie was upset because they went out to eat and left her home. She said when they came back, she was handed a bag of takeout and the food was stone cold. I asked my fiancé to elaborate, to which she confirmed taking only her girls out to an early dinner then took them to play mini-golf, hence why the food was cold as it sat in the car as they played. She kept deflecting to the food, saying she didn't expect her to eat it cold. She could have warmed it up herself. I kept insisting it was extremely rude to exclude Charlie from the outing. She came back with, "But I brought her food home." She then asked, "Why is it okay for you to go out with just Charlie?" But that's different. In the last 30 days her kids have been here. Charlie and I have only gone grocery shopping, or in one occasion took her cat to the vet. That can't even be compared to what she did. We didn't come to any sort of an agreement. Friday, she was taking her girls to the dentist, and on the way out, she made a snarky comment, "I hope this doesn't offend Charlie too." It ticked me off when she said that, and I called her feral. We both later apologized, but she then started the argument back up. She said it was so rude of me to argue about her taking her kids out. She further said, "I don't see my kids for 6 months. Excused the hell out of me for wanting to spend time alone with them." I understood her point, but I felt like we could periodically plan separate outings on the same day, so no one feels excluded. She kinda threw the bedroom ordeal in my face and said, "My kids might feel alienated from their own mother if they can't enjoy time alone with me." She made a pointless remark that her kids have no problem with her doing things with Charlie while they're living with her father. She further argued that there will be many times when Charlie will be excluded because of the age gap between her and the eldest. I told her if she expects things to work out, she would need to treat Charlie as one of her daughters. She said I was entirely missing her point because I don't know what it's like having shared custody, and me scolding her for spending time with them as she said was a cowardly move. Not the a-hole. She left a child at home alone knowing you were working a 12-hour shift and then brought her cold takeout. That's just plain mean. Are you sure you want this woman in your daughter's life? Sounds like Opie nabbed himself an evil stepmother. Dude, she's showing you how she treats your kid when you aren't around. She won't stop either. Your kid is less than in her eyes. Yes, exactly that. She's showing him what she is, and she is a right fighter. You know, she just needs to be right. Run, buddy. Run fast and far. The red flags are everywhere in this post. Your fiancé sounds very immature and it sounds like you both need to work on your communication. You're not the a-hole, but your fiancé is for leaving a 10-year-old home alone for that long, and specifically excluding her from the outing. OP, your fiancé gave your daughter a bag of food that was sitting in the car as they played mini-golf for presumably several hours. During that time, food can accumulate bacteria when left out between 40 to 140 Fahrenheit degrees in as little as 2 hours. Not only did this woman neglect your daughter to show favor to her own kids, but your daughter could have become ill from eating leftovers that were sitting in your fiancé's car. The fact that your fiancé is petty and vindictive and compares going to the store or taking a cat to the vet as the same as going out to restaurants and playing mini-golf, then uses it against you. This is a manipulation tactic. Please take a long thought about whether this woman should be living with you. She may seem like she was a good motherly figure when she is around you, but now you see how she acts towards your daughter when you're not around. Not the a-hole. Honestly, I didn't even think about the food poisoning potential. I was more focused on the big picture of excluding her. My fiancé was like, well, I placed her order to go after we ate. Like that changed anything, since she knew it would be sitting in car for who knows how long. Nobody plays mini-golf for a couple minutes anyways. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend because she literally told me she would cheat on me if I took a new job? I know this is going to come across as first world problems. I'm currently at a job where I earn about $250,000 a year. I have an opportunity for a job where I will get $640,000 a year. The caveat being that the new job is overseas. I will be gone for 4 months at a time instead of 4 weeks at a time. My girlfriend isn't happy. She says that she doesn't want me gone for that long, that she will get lonely. I try to explain that I will only be doing this job for 1 or 2 years, and that the money I make set us up for a bright future. We can pay off all our debts. We can buy a house. We can travel on my off time. She then said that she doesn't care about any of that, and that if I'm gone for that long, she might need company. I didn't understand at first, and I said that we could get the dog she has been wanting to get. She said she meant human company. I said that she had lots of company at work and at school, and she was welcome to use our place to socialize all she wanted. She then spelled it out, because I was stupid to think she was a decent human. She said that she wasn't going to go for months without sex. I said I completely understood and broke up with her. She is going crazy right now. She is at her sister's house and calling me and texting constantly. She says that I misunderstood and that she would never cheat on me. Like I said, I'm gone for a month at a time now, so I'm pretty sure she's been lonely before. I can't trust her, and I'm not going to try and build a future with someone who can't think about plans. Now for the top comments. Finally, someone on here who believes the person when they tell them exactly who they are. I was thinking the exact same thing. Who on earth threatens that? But she didn't mean it. How could anyone possibly think she said something she actually meant? I'd never really cheat on you. I was just being manipulative. Exactly what I just commented. It doesn't matter if she didn't mean it. She said it to get him to do what she wanted instead of what made him happy. That's manipulative. Nope, not the a-hole. You're better off without someone who threatens to cheat on you because you're pursuing a better opportunity. It sounds like you dodged a bullet. I honestly thought it was an amazing opportunity for us to do something most people our age don't get to do. I was going to pay off her student loans. Her sister probably told her how much of an idiot she is, and now she regrets the words out of her mouth. Stay your course, dude. Girlfriend, if you choose the job, I'll choose human contact. OP, okay, you do that, because I'm breaking up. Girlfriend, surprised Pikachu face. What did you think would happen? Not the a-hole. She probably thought he'd prove his love and not take the opportunity of a lifetime. Oh yeah, everyone would applaud him for sacrificing his career for his one true love. There will be a crappy Hallmark movie about it. There will be so many awards. I won't be watching. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend he should move out of my house? I, 28 female, bought my house 5 years ago. I got an inheritance from my great aunt who passed away and has no children. I was also saving for a home at a time and was able to buy a house with 20% down and pay off all my student loans. So I'm very grateful to her for that. I bought a very small house on a big lot, which was pretty affordable back in the day as everyone wanted a big house and didn't care as much about the backyard space. My boyfriend, 31 male, and I moved in together a year ago, and it pays rent to me, but it's much lower than he would pay if he rented elsewhere. He began complaining about how I ran my house, that I hang up my laundry outside on clotheslines, and also because I tore out the grass in my front yard to make a wildflower garden and clover lawn. I don't know why he has opinions about what the lawn is made of, but he complains it looks ghetto. It's not even obstructing his hobbies. He doesn't even hang out outside. The big arguments came recently after me getting chickens. My city has a backyard chicken program where they grant permits for people to have backyard chickens. I got my permit after applying for 3 years straight and began looking to get chickens. I spent last summer building a coop. My boyfriend knows how to use tools, but he refused to help, saying it will make the house look like a barnyard. So I did it myself, and now he's complaining he moved in with me to live in a house, not a farm. He claims the chickens will be disgusting, but our neighbor got the permit last year and has chickens, but there is no weird smells or sounds coming from them. Last night, I finally got the 4 heritage breed chickens I was looking for and told him, and he yelled at me for not listening to him. I was sick of this and told him to move out, since he can't stand to live in a house with chickens in a backyard, and he got all quiet and proceeded to ignore me today. I'm starting to think he wants to move out but doesn't want to deal with a high rent elsewhere. He is always telling me because he pays rent, he should get a say. Am I the a-hole for telling him to move out because he won't let me do as I want on my own property? My house is finally looking like the house of my dreams, and I put work in every weekend to do it all myself. I feel like he is now intruding on my paradise, and being super critical of everything has me wanting him to leave. Don't leave it up to him. Kick him out. This is your home. He is telling you who he is. Listen. It's your house. This is not the man for you. Somewhere out there is a chicken-loving wildflower-picking dude looking for a home and a good woman, and you won't find him with that loser clinging to your leg. I actually did the same as Opie. I wanted a majority of front yard natural with paths carved in, and we did it. I wanted chickens and my husband built a great coop. Find the right guy, Opie. Not the a-hole at all, so never put his name on the deed. Never put anyone else's name on the deed. I added my husband to the title as a 10th anniversary present. By that time, he had contributed a lot to the house. He's been an awesome partner and a great dad. So I wouldn't say never, but it's a huge decision. OP's boyfriend doesn't even come close to being allowed to stay. Kick his butt. Find a boyfriend who will help with the chickens and wildflowers, who will love you as you are, and who will make your life better for being part of it. Not the a-hole. It's your house, period. He's paying a tiny rent-ish amount, not actual rent. Not equal, so no, he doesn't get a say. Not a real rent-lease agreement. This is him finding out he doesn't call the shots in your home. When he actually pays a down payment, works on a house, and pays half the costs, he can have a say. Until then, he can shut the heck up or get out. Also, until he apologizes or decides if he is or isn't moving out, tell him not to even think of sleeping in your bed. Not the a-hole. I bought a house before the pandemic and my ex moved in after he lost his old triplex apartment after his friend passed. His friend allowed him to live rent-free for 5 years. He moved in with me and I got fed up with him. He was a slob, messy, and complained about the standard of basic living. I kicked him out after a year. Yeah, not worth the hassle. Not the a-hole. You two are incompatible and should break up. This is the heart of the issue. She shouldn't just be kicking him out. She should be breaking up. His vision of home life is one that lots of people share, but she isn't one of them. And while it might be possible to make things work with some sort of compromise, they clearly haven't, so there's no reason to think they will. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend knowing she'll be homeless? I, 20 male, have been in a relationship with my girlfriend, 21 female, for almost 2 years, and we've been living together for the entirety of our relationship. She got pregnant and we wanted to keep the baby, which introduced the idea of living together. She was living with her aunts before, and she told me they were abusive, so I took the responsibility of taking her in. Her youngest brother also came with us since her aunt said she didn't want us to leave a responsibility to her. However, it all started to get screwed up when her sister, 23 female, got pregnant too and cannot stay at her work anymore. In our country, abortion is greatly looked down upon and is not a common practice, so she kept her baby as well. She needed a place to stay and I was kind enough to offer her our place, to which she agreed. Our baby girl died due to premature labor. Her sister's baby lived. It was hard to get through those times, but we got back to our feet. She started working again, but quit her job after 3 months due to issues with her employer. She didn't get a job ever since. I have been having huge financial issues after that. Each check I received monthly was just enough, if not lacking, for food around the house and for our bills and rent. I do not have the liberty to even purchase a fast food item, since it will quickly throw me out of budget. I told her this, and she told me that she'll eventually find a job since she's actively looking for one, so I didn't bug her about it. Now 7 months in, she still doesn't have a job. I've talked to her multiple times, and she said that she's applying to all sorts of companies, but she doesn't get hired. I looked through her emails and found that she's looking for jobs online and applies for one every 2 weeks. I only saw her actually look for a job for the past 2 months. We've had many arguments about it, but it always ends to her saying they'll just leave the house since I was making them feel like they're a burden to me. I told her multiple times too that I just need her help financially, but she always disregards it and insists that I make them feel like a burden. Aside from this, her siblings have lots of issues. Her youngest got in trouble a lot, and we've been called to various local government offices, which we were not used to since our family keeps our name clean. Her older sister, on the other hand, always gets angry whenever we scold their brother for it, slamming things around the house, and constantly whispers disrespectful stuff. She has constantly spoiled their little brother, which is what I told them the reason why their brother is like that. Our last argument ended up with me getting super angry and stressed. I just got home from work, that I had the urge to leave my house for the first time in my entire life. We've had an argument after I came home from an out-of-town activity, paid of course as I needed the money, and it ended up with me telling her that I'm done putting up with our situation and I wanted to end it. I used that opportunity to distract myself and get actual rest, stressed from work and from her siblings. But she still fought me because she thought that I was taking it easy. When I told her I wanted to break up, she just said okay casually and didn't talk to me for the rest of the day. She ended up leaving the next day that I greatly hoped was for the purpose of finding a job, but I learned that she just went out with her friend. This is the first time in my entire life that I've felt so drained emotionally, mentally, and financially. I can't even take my parents to eat out anymore, since I just don't have that kind of money due to me paying bills and food around the house for us 5, including her sister's baby. I feel so much pity for myself since I can't even buy a single thing I want, since it will put me out of budget. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. Her and her family are taking advantage of you and your kindness. Get them out ASAP and focus on yourself. I told her multiple times too that I just need her help financially, but she always disregards it and insists that I make them feel like a burden. She is a burden and has to go. No other options. You're not the a-hole, and she's a vampire sucking your spirit dry. She literally is the definition of a burden. Good riddance. Now kick all these freeloading users out. No wonder the aunt was ready to dump the whole ungrateful lot of them on the first unsuspecting kind person to come along. Not the a-hole. As messed up as this sounds, you've gotten a second chance since she isn't pregnant, so you can escape her hellish family. Not the a-hole. There's a reason they feel like a burden. It's because they are. And they're perfectly able to stop burdening you at any time. But why would they? They don't have to work, and you pay for everything. Kick them out. Live your life for you again. Last story. Am I the a-hole for rejecting my sister's fiancé's job offer and ruining everything? I'm a 23-year-old female, and I'm not sure if I'm the a-hole in this situation. So here it goes. My sister, Anna, 27 female, has always been the golden child. She's smart, beautiful, and now engaged to a wonderful guy named Mike, 29 male. Mike is the kind of guy who makes everyone feel special, and I thought he was the best thing that ever happened to Anna. I couldn't be happier for her, until recently. 3 years ago, I started my dream job as a graphic designer at a prestigious company. It wasn't easy to get in, and I had to work my butt off to prove myself. Fast forward to a few months ago, our company started a big project, and I was chosen as the lead designer. This was my big break. One evening, Mike dropped by my apartment to discuss something important. I assumed it was about the wedding, but I was wrong. He told me he had a business proposal. Mike had recently started his own tech company and needed a creative mind like mine. He offered me a position as the lead of design, with a significant pay raise, and promised equity in the company. It was tempting, but I politely declined. I loved my job, and I didn't want to mix family with business. Here's where things get messy. Mike didn't take my rejection well. He became pushy, trying to persuade me by any means necessary. I stood my ground, thinking it was over. But then, weird things started happening at work. Rumors about me slacking off and missing deadlines spread like wildfire. My boss, who had always trusted me, started questioning my work ethic. Projects were reassigned and my reputation took a hit. Last week, I was called into a meeting with HR and my boss. They had evidence of me leaking confidential information to a competitor. I was in shock and denied everything. They showed me emails sent from my work account which I had never sent. I was suspended pending further investigation. Devastated, I went to Anna's place to seek comfort. As I was explaining everything to her, Mike walked in. He looked guilty and it hit me. I confronted him, demanding to know if he had anything to do with this. After a tense standoff, he admitted to hacking into my email and sending those emails to sabotage me. He thought if I had no job, I'd be forced to join his company. Anna was horrified and broke off the engagement on the spot. Now my family's divided. My parents are furious with Mike, but are also blaming me for provoking him by rejecting his offer. They think I should have just accepted a job to keep the peace. Anna's supportive, but she's devastated. My friends are telling me to take legal action, but I'm scared of the repercussions. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for rejecting my sister's fiancé's job offer and causing this mess? Okay, here's what I think you should do. 1. Take legal action. 2. Inform your employer of what transpired. 3. Find out how he hacked into your work email and take measures to prevent another hacker from doing the same. The most common method of hacking is simple social engineering, so be more careful with your work account, even if you are with trusted people. 4. Have a talk with your parents about how blaming you for this helps no one, and that they're defending the person who broke one of their daughter's heart and put the other one's livelihood and reputation at jeopardy. I'm sure what they said come from a place of shock and confusion, and that they do not actually blame you for provoking him. Godspeed. The company needs to know that they're vulnerable, and you need to clear your reputation. That mark on your record will haunt you forever otherwise. Not a-hole, legal actions are a must. I totally agree with you. Is that the kind of person your parents really want in their family? Someone who can't accept no? What if he needs money to bail his business, and no one is able or willing to help, and then he sabotages the family in such vile or worse way? What if someone comes to light about him and your sister's relationship where she has to leave him, and he can't accept? What if their future children disagree with his want? Religion, activity, career path, school choice, sexual orientation, etc. Call the authorities and Mike. As soon as you hang up with the authorities, call your employer and explain that the authorities have been involved in what happened. Gather all the evidence. You can hire a lawyer and sue him. Mike is insane. Your parents are insane. Why the heck would you accept a job offer from a psycho that clearly belongs in jail? So they want one daughter to be married to an insane criminal psycho stalker and the other one working for him? What the heck is wrong with them? You're not the a-hole at all. Am I the a-hole for leaving my own birthday dinner because my girlfriend turned it into a proposal for herself? I, 28th male, had my birthday dinner last weekend, and my girlfriend Sarah, 27th female, offered to plan it. I was excited because I usually keep things low-key, but she said she wanted to make it special. She booked a nice restaurant and invited close friends and family. Everything was going great, until it was time for dessert. The waiter brought out a cake, but instead of my name, it said, "Will you marry me, Sarah?" I was completely blindsided. Sarah got all teary-eyed, turned to me and said, "Well, this is the best surprise ever, right?" Everyone around us started clapping, and her friends were filming. I just sat there, stunned.
She took my silence as hesitation and started going on about how she knew I wasn't big on grand gestures, but she couldn't wait anymore. So she took matters into her own hands. At that moment, I stood up and said, "This is my birthday. If you wanted a proposal, you should have talked to me about it first." Then I grabbed my stuff and walked out. Sarah was mortified, and her friends blew up my phone, calling me an a-hole for embarrassing her and ruining the night. She even said I humiliated her when she was just trying to do something romantic. I'm getting conflicting opinions from family. Some say I should have just gone along with it for the night, while others think she crossed a major boundary. So, am I the a-hole for leaving my own birthday dinner because my girlfriend hijacked it for a proposal? Now for the top comments. She didn't just turn it into a proposal, she turned it into a proposal where she proposed to herself on your behalf. That is not rational behavior in the least. If she wanted to propose, she could have proposed to you, from or as herself to you. But no, she wanted the public moment of her being proposed to, and decided your birthday was the perfect time for her to give this to herself. She was trying to do something romantic, but you weren't the intended recipient. She was. It was nice of her to show you what she values, because it definitely isn't you. You're a prop for her, and at least now you know that for sure. Absolutely, positively not the a-hole. That's beyond self-centered. She totally hijacked your moment for herself. Huge red flag. Not the a-hole at all. It's not even just the hijack, though that's bad too. She was tired of waiting, so she tried to publicly force OP to accept a proposal. I wonder if she's even had a discussion with him before this, and how long they've been together. Not the a-hole. Glad you didn't go along with it. The cake could have said, "Will you marry me, OP?" with her proposing to you, which would have been cringeworthy at best. Instead, she decided to make it all about her and put you on the spot. Please see her for who she really is, not worthy of your time and attention. Yes, if it was her proposing to him, it would be one thing. The way she did it was awkward. Plus, the fact that she did it in front of friends and family makes it even more awkward. This girl is nuts. Run away as fast as you can from the crazy. Yeah, I'm actually stunned. This is completely insane. Who thinks of something like that? Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my wife while we are separated? For context, my wife went through some trauma and has not been using appropriate coping skills or seeking help. Instead, she is going through a complete midlife crisis of sorts, including leaving me rather unexpectedly. We are in counseling, but as of now, she cannot commit to anything other than a walk once a week. We barely speak. More context, I work 3 jobs. The original plan was to stack and save money to travel and possibly foster children eventually. She works 1 job. I pay all of her and my bills, except for her cell phone bill and 1/4 of the car payment. I was feeling quite resentful because she had been ignoring all of my messages for about a week. I saw that she was ordering food through a delivery service, so I changed my password. I saw she was also attempting to buy groceries on a similar app, so I took her off all of them. She then asked me for $150 a week for expenses. I've paid it for about a month, and I'm sick of it. We had talked about going to Greece as a couple. Now she can't even commit to more than 1 walk a week with me, and maybe 3 messages a day. No plan to get back together anytime soon. She says she's enjoying aspects of being single. So I'm pissed. I want to go to Greece by myself to reap the benefits of my hard labor. I stopped paying for her. My counselor told me that stopping payment is akin to abuse. But I think that working 3 jobs and sacrificing my mental and physical health so my estranged wife can do God knows what on my dime is also abuse. I'm standing my ground and not paying her weekly. Am I the a-hole? Since I pay all of her other bills, this seems quite reasonable. I'm not going to stop paying her bills, except maybe her gym membership. That's not essential. Am I the a-hole? Edit. The trauma was her grandfather dying. She was close to him. Then about a year later, her dad died. Neither death was unexpected. Grandpa was 91 and Dad had been battling lung cancer while continuing to smoke for about 4 years. It was traumatic because she was very close to both of them, and when her dad died, it was during COVID, so she wasn't able to say a real goodbye. Grandpa died 3 years ago, Dad died 2 years ago. Your therapist freaking sucks. Get a new one. But OP, it sounds like your marriage is over, and it might be worth lawyering up and separating legally if she has zero intention of working it out. Not the a-hole. I couldn't agree more. The therapist is full of BS. Not giving away your money is abuse? OP, get rid of that therapist immediately. Therapist is whack as hell. Get yourself properly lawyered. She has no intention of working things out with you, just wants to munch as much as possible. Not the a-hole. You are separated and do not have children. She's not your responsibility anymore. If she is enjoying being single, then she should get the full experience. Bills and all. I feel like she's stringing you along so she can be single and have her bills paid. That's what I'm afraid of. Let her know you're happy to continue counseling, but you can't keep paying 2 households. Or keep paying. Really your only choices. Yeah, I definitely don't want to engage in financial abuse, but she has a job. She's living with her mom. She will not become destitute without an additional $600 a month. Dump your therapist. Dump the wife. I'm sorry that sounds harsh, but if your post is true, those should be your next steps. She has a job, and if she wants to play single ladies pay their own way. Enjoy Greece. It's beautiful. Not the a-hole. Yeah, I honestly liked the therapist until she said that. I was pretty stunned. I've never considered myself to be abusive. An a-hole occasionally? Sure. Abusive? Never. I've done nothing but support her and provide for her and encourage all of her passions. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband it's too late to save our marriage? My husband and I met 5 years ago. He lost his first wife the previous year, and he was struggling with his 2 kids, who were 4 and 2 at the time. Currently, they're 9 and 7. It wasn't the parenting he was struggling with, but he admitted he was lonely and missed having someone there. We dated casually for a few months, and then more seriously. I was introduced to his kids after we had been serious for 7 months, and things were going well. When his first wife's family learned I was around the kids, there were some rumbles. My husband told me it would blow over and that it was difficult for them to hear the kids were bonding with another woman. It wasn't until after we got married 2 years ago that I started to feel like it wasn't going to blow over. The kids were acting out with me far more. We didn't have any real issues before. Sure, they were kids and didn't always listen, but it felt pretty evenly dispersed between my husband and me when it came to discipline. But after a while, it was clear that it was happening to me far more than to my husband. Things were only really starting to get more noticeable when I learned I was pregnant. My husband was thrilled, but the kids were not. Everyone told me it would take time for them to get used to another baby joining the family. They told me to give it time. My husband and I talked about my concerns, and he told me he'd be on the lookout for anything, but he didn't. He was dismissive the next time I brought the topic up. Then he started dropping the rope and expecting me to do more. The kids saw their mom's family once every 2 weeks. My husband used to drop them off, but then he expected me to do it. And I was met with a very icy reception and hostile remarks if I asked the kids to be careful or anything like that. I told my husband and he shrugged it off. The kids started saying, "You're not our mom." They told me I couldn't tell them what to do. My husband heard them say it and he said nothing. When I did, they got even angrier. One time while I was pregnant, I asked them to carry their dirty dishes so I could wash up, and they said no, that they didn't have to listen to me. I told them I was the adult in charge, that it was a simple request, and that I knew they were capable of doing it. They told me their real mom's family said they didn't have to listen to me, and that I was a stupid bee who was trying to take them away. I tried to sit down and explain that I didn't want to take them away from anyone or upset anyone, that I was just another person who loved them, but the kids stormed off in a tantrum. My husband didn't care when I told him about it. When our son was born, it didn't get any better. I told my husband we needed marriage therapy and family counseling, and that he needed to hear me or our marriage wouldn't survive. But he didn't make the time for it. He told me things would get better once the kids settled. He was still leaving it all up to me, and anytime I called the grandparents to come and pick them up because I couldn't drop them off, it was like I was their enemy. The kids behaved even worse after visiting them. A friend who had lost a parent young and gained a step-parent afterward told me that intervening myself would just make them resent me more and would likely end any chance to improve the relationship. She said if my husband wasn't going to step up, then I needed to leave. She said there was a good chance my son would grow up in a very unhappy home if nothing changed and that I'd be miserable, more than I already was if I stayed. I tried to make it work. I tried to have another talk with my stepkids. I tried to insist on marriage counseling again. I got nowhere, and it was still getting worse. To add to it, the kids rejected their baby brother. There was no magical baby winning them over moment like others had mentioned. Not that I really believed in that, but I wanted to think it could happen. I also wanted to believe things could get better. But without my husband on my side, I know it won't. I reached the end of the line after Christmas. I packed up mine and my son's things and went to my parents' house. I filed for divorce the next day. My husband didn't seem to believe I'd follow through with it, but after a couple of weeks, he started saying all the right things and promising he'd do better. I told him he was too late. He said we built a family and that the kids couldn't lose another mom. Even his parents, who never paid much attention to me, reached out and told me I couldn't do this to the kids and that we needed to make it work, that it's never too late when kids are involved. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You tried for years, communicated your needs clearly, and your husband consistently failed to act. His sudden change of heart is convenient, but it doesn't erase years of neglect and the toxic environment he allowed to fester. You did what you had to do to protect yourself and your son. His family's pleas are out of line. They ignored you for years and now want you to sacrifice your happiness for their convenience? You deserve better. This, OP, get out now. He's desperate for you to come home to take care of his kids, not be a partner. The warning signs were there from the beginning. He just needed a nanny and a bed warmer. Why do people think other children will automatically accept a step-parent? Why do people think babies can bring about change in other children? OP should not have had a child with this man when all the red flags were there. Now her child is forever linked to this situation. Not the a-hole. You tried for years and he turned a deaf eye and ear to all the bad behavior. He never ran interference or established boundaries. When it was obvious his previous wife's family was bad-mouthing you and telling the kids to mistreat you. The kids aren't losing another mother because he and his first wife's family made sure that you weren't in that role. He only realized how bad it was when you left. He won't change, and I have no doubts he will move on quickly and find another woman to take care of things. I wish you and your son luck, OP, and a happier life that you both deserve. Thank you. I hope my son and I can have a happy little life now that we're out of the house. I feel guilty I let him be born into that mess to begin with, but I'll do everything I can to make him enjoy the life we can have. Unless your ex decides to give up custody, your son isn't out of that house. Once he gets a bit older, he'll be spending half his time there if that's what your ex wants. He hasn't even mentioned our son in his efforts to make me come back. I can't see him fighting for custody. I can see him letting the kids go to his in-laws and letting me keep our son. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I won't cook for his mom anymore? My mother-in-law, 64 female, has never liked me, 30 female. She's polite when my husband, 35 male, is around, but when we're alone, she constantly makes passive-aggressive comments. If I wear makeup, I'm trying too hard. If I don't, I look tired. If I buy something nice for myself, I'm wasting money. But the worst part, she critiques everything I cook. Despite this, I've always cooked for her. She lives alone, so my husband invites her over 3 times a week to make sure she's eating well. I wouldn't mind if she were appreciative, but she never is. No matter what I make, she always finds something wrong. This soup could use more seasoning. After I followed her exact recipe, lol. The chicken is a little dry when I made her favorite dish. You put cheese in this? That's not how I do it. I've bitten my tongue for years to keep the peace, but last week was the final straw. I spent 2 hours making homemade lasagna, including fresh pasta and a special sauce. When she took a bite, she sighed and said, "I guess this is edible." I put my fork down and said, "I'm done. From now on, if you don't like my cooking, you can make your own meals." She looked shocked and then burst into tears. She told my husband I had humiliated her at the dinner table and that she didn't feel welcome in our home anymore. Instead of defending me, my husband immediately took her side. He said I was overreacting and that she's just old-fashioned. She doesn't mean anything by it. I told him that just because she's older doesn't give her a free pass to insult me every time she eats at our house. Now she refuses to eat at our home unless my husband cooks, which he rarely does. Low-key a win. She's also started making passive-aggressive remarks about not wanting to be a burden and how sad it is to eat alone in old age. My husband is furious with me for ruining family dinners and insists that I should just let it go because that's just how she is. But I refuse to spend hours cooking for someone who goes out of her way to crap on me. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You've been incredibly patient. Constructive criticism is one thing, but your mother-in-law's comments are consistently mean and designed to make you feel inadequate. It's your home too, and you shouldn't have to endure that kind of treatment. Your husband's refusal to acknowledge his mother's behavior and his expectation that you should just deal with it is the bigger problem here. It's perfectly reasonable to set boundaries. 100% OP has a husband problem. Mama's boys are never good husbands. That OP put up with this for years tells me she knew her husband would react that way. And his mom is a classic narcissist with her crying, then immediately guilt-tripping when she's criticized. And obviously OP's husband is still around her finger. OP, you're not the a-hole, but when your husband married you, you should have become his #1 priority, which means defending you. She's gonna be like this in every aspect of your life. Also, if you want to have kids, don't have kids with this man until he's worked out his unresolved mummy issues. Not the a-hole, but please realize you have a husband problem much more than you have a mother-in-law problem. Yes, mother-in-law is rude, but your husband is the one not only enabling her behavior to you, but angry at you for not enabling her too. I'd bet money that this isn't the only example of your husband coddling his mother at your expense. If your husband doesn't want his mother to eat alone, he can either take on more of the cooking or go run to his mommy's house and eat there. Maybe sometime he'll just decide to stay there, which honestly sounds like a win for you. Yes, let him and his mother fend for themselves at mealtime. Nah, you ain't the a-hole. You put up with her nonsense for years and she pushed you too far. Cooking for someone 3 times a week just for them to trash it? Nope. If your husband wants to keep the peace so bad, he can throw on an apron and handle dinner himself. Stand your ground. Or perhaps OP and a whole hubby can run a little test. Biatch-in-law can continue to come to dinner. OP cooks as usual, but they tell mother-in-law that hubby cooked. Do this for a month or so. Take note of her comments on the food. This will show hubby mother-in-law is just being a bee, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the food. Then he can either get his bee in line, or he can take over cooking full-time. Either way, she's going to shut her pie hole or eat all by her little old lonesome. Better yet, perhaps it's time to look into assisted living facilities.
Update 2. Soon everyone will know he's been messing with his stepmother and stepsister. Original post. For a little while, I've suspected my husband of cheating. I didn't have any justification for thinking or feeling this way, but I couldn't stop having this gut feeling that something was wrong. So I decided to keep a closer eye on him, and I still found nothing. And for a long time I was angry with myself for suspecting him and for invading his privacy. We went to marriage counseling and I apologized for breaking his trust in me, and for a little while, all was well. I can't believe I apologized to that lying sack of turd. But that wretched feeling never went away. I tried so hard to get over this feeling that he was deceiving me in some way, and I just couldn't. So I decided it was time to hire a private investigator, instead of playing Inspector Gadget myself. Let me tell you, this was the best thing I ever spent money on. Within a month, the PI was able to confirm my suspicions, but it was a shock to find out that it was his stepsister and his stepmother. Not only that, but he may be the father of his stepsister's newborn baby. I could have killed him, but I kept my composure, and I kept this information to myself and continued to act as normal as possible. Believe me, that was a very difficult thing to do. I slowly started detaching from him and even moved into our spare bedroom, and we continued to drift apart. I moved out, got a new job, and started saving money for our divorce. I got my life in order. Now here we are almost a year later and in the final stages of our divorce, and I've still not told anyone. I've spent the last year preparing for our divorce because I'll be damned to leave this marriage empty-handed. I wanted to handle our financial affairs first because my husband works for his father, and I didn't want to leave him unemployed during our divorce process. This trash of a man dragged out our divorce and fought me for everything, even things that were mine to begin with. But I kept my calm and I won't say a word until I get everything I deserve. That's when I'll tell his father. And his father is not a man to be messed with. I've been assured the check will clear in 3 days or less, and it's over for Robert because as soon as that money hits my account, his mother, stepmother, stepsister, brother-in-law, and father will receive a beautifully written email with pictures and videos of what he has been up to. His dad will tear him apart. Count your days, Robert. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Question: why did he think you were divorcing him? For being emotionally manipulative and a neglectful husband, as well as cheating with other women, as there were others that the PIA had discovered. I just didn't tell him I knew about his stepsister and stepmother. I really hope for your sake that he doesn't find this and ruin your plans. There was a girl on here who was planning on burning her boyfriend's world to the ground and posted it the night before, and he found it and ruined everything. Oh geez, I was thinking that. Like it wouldn't be hard. What if one of his mates is on here and knows and recognizes it? I just gotta say, I have worked for a private investigator, and cheating spouse cases are sad, but also feel good to solve. Even when it sucks, everyone deserves answers. How often were they hired for that purpose, and were they usually cheating most of the time? It depends. We are hired for that purpose a lot, really. And most of the cases, like all the ones I solved for example, they were cheating. My job is to prove to my client the affair, but when they come with their insights, I already know that's the case. Just go for the proof. Everything changes when you're trying to keep a secret. Genuinely curious, how do you get into that line of work? I job shadowed one actually as a college student while studying criminology. The owner of the business/boss held the private investigator licensure, and where we lived, it was like an umbrella to also cover those that worked for him when doing investigative work. I just happened upon him looking at possible career options and landed a job shadowing position. The private investigator himself had gone to college for criminal justice and served in law enforcement positions, eventually obtaining a private investigator license and starting his own practice. Now for the first update. I got my money, time descended. To add, his stepmother and stepsister do not know about each other. I don't know how long he has been intimately involved with them, but I do know it started in adulthood for all involved. Now for the second update. Let's clear some things up. When Robert's father remarried, Robert was already a 30-year-old man. So no, he wasn't groomed, and his stepsister was 31 when she met him, so again, no one here is being taken advantage of. All involved were already well into adulthood when meeting and when they started to fool around. As for the money, well honey, that's money he owed me but was being a prick about giving it back. I invested in his business ventures and he refused to pay me my share, and that's not something I was willing to let slide. You can't get a broke man to pay his debt, so of course I wasn't going to let him be unemployed during our divorce. The aftermath. I sent the email as soon as I saw the money had hit my account. The first to call me was Robert and I picked up. First words out of his mouth was, "You evil witch." I replied with, "Your mama," and I ended the call. The second person to call me is stepsister's husband, and he was just heartbroken. He asked me a ton of questions, and he asked for my divorce lawyer's information. We also discussed him getting a DNA test for all their kids. Through brother-in-law, I found out that there was an all-out war between stepmother and father-in-law. He tried to kick her out, but she locked herself up in the bedroom. While father-in-law was throwing her things outside, stepmother-in-law called her daughter for help. At some point, stepsister and stepmother got in a fight. The fight was so bad that the neighbors called the police. In the scuffle to separate mother and daughter, they hurt one of the police officers and were arrested. They are still in jail because neither of them has anyone willing to bail them out. The following day, I got a call from Robert telling me that his daddy almost ran him over. So he wanted to come stay with me because he's scared that his daddy or brother-in-law will try to beat him again. Robert is scared to go home. His dad and brother-in-law are pretty much camped outside of his place and have already jumped him twice. Robert is terrified. He tried to stay with his mother, and she told him that he had made his bed and should now lie in it. FYI, I am not done with Robert yet. I've got more planned for him. You should let him stay with you and invite the father-in-law and the brother-in-law. Then go to the supermarket. Go and grab a bag of popcorn. And have their fight destroy my new home. I think not. OP, if they did something to him, you'd be liable for inviting them in, knowing they attacked him already. Don't care if it's real or not. I'm getting popcorn ready for the next episode. This kind of thing is the closest I get to watching trashy reality TV. I freaking love it. Oh crap, that hits close to home for me. I never watch reality TV, but I have this sub as a favorite to scroll every day long. He's really asking the woman he cheated on and dragged through a messy divorce if he could stay with her. This man seriously has no self-preservation instincts. Real or not, I'm freaking invested now. My ex-boyfriend called me 4 years later to cry about his girlfriend of 2.5 years breaking up with him and keeps sending me pics of him and his dog and asking for my help for things. I haven't replied to any of the messages or looked at them aside from the thumbnail my phone gives when I receive them. He cheated on me in the 3rd year of our relationship, and I forgave him and dated him for another year. When he called me out of the blue to say, "I'm not sure I want to be with you," then said he needed a week to decide. I called him the next day and broke up with him, and he threw a fit because he said to give him a week. Some people are shameless. I had an ex that emailed me, that we were taking a break and that he would contact me when we would talk again. For context, he was living out of town and told me he would reach out before he was due to come to town again to see if we would talk about our relationship. Called me a week later upset that I didn't try to reach out. I told him, if anything, I was just following what he told me. He asked, "So, are we going to get back together or what?" My reply was hanging up on him. They really are shameless. Now for the last story. Update. I found out that I'm the other woman. I told the wife. Original post. A few days ago, I found out that a guy I used to date last winter had given me a fake last name, got married in early spring, and had been engaged living with his fiancé the entire time we were dating. And as we continued to hook up every now and then, in the months following us no longer dating. He was able to hide his wife from me in a variety of ways. That all added up to be a perfect scenario for him to continue to lead me on, and without me seeing a reason to ask many questions. For example, he was a coach and had weird work hours. Like very early mornings and evenings after normal work hours. So many of our dates were lunch dates. He was also going through a messy custody hearing for his son that was scheduled for March 2022. So when he started to be busy a lot, I understood and didn't ask questions. He had told me he didn't have social media to avoid giving his ex any fuel at all for the hearing. So when I couldn't find him online, well, he had already told me why. At the time, there was no solid reason for me to distrust him even if things sometimes felt a little off in my gut. At one point, I did question his interest in me when he didn't reply for a few days, and he told me, "Sorry, busy weekend with my son." He would reassure me and apologize. So he had many chances to set me free even without coming clean. He could have just said, "Yeah, I'm not feeling it anymore, I wish you the best." And I feel so stupid for thinking what a great father he was for being so focused on his son when he had his weekends with him. He eventually was honest with me as the custody hearing got closer and told me that he needed to be focused on that and that he couldn't give me what I deserved in a relationship right now. When we stopped seeing each other regularly, we stayed in contact and occasionally slept together since we were both single, or so I thought. I even looked back through my calendar and we saw each other 2 days after his wedding weekend. Eek. I found out that he was married when I mentioned him at a business, and someone who worked there said they think he was their coach. I'm purposefully keeping that vague because when I confronted him, he tried to get me to tell him who it was that he coached who told me. I wasn't going to play that game. So, we looked up his coaching profile to see if we were talking about the same person. And there he was, smiling with a different last name than what he had told me 10 months ago. With the description saying he likes to spend time with his wife, his son, same name he told me, and dog, same name he told me. More Googling at home brought up a wedding registry for a wedding in April 2022. Both of their Facebook profiles where they are in each other's pictures, and the house he lives in with the wife's name as the owner. I feel so disgusted, deceived, targeted, hurt, mad, sad, shocked. So, ladies and supporters of ladies, do I tell the wife? Part of me wants to, so that she isn't also being deceived by this guy, and so he doesn't get away with it. But I also want to just be done with it, move on, and never think about him again. I'm afraid to open a door that I can't close by involving myself more into his twisted life. I'm slightly concerned about his reaction if I tell him, like my own safety or that of my property since he knows where I live. Or if there's any other way a cruel and cunning person would get revenge that I'm not thinking of. Any advice or similar experiences? Thank you. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Yes, she needs to get tested. You need to get tested, and he needs to be alone. I thought you meant religiously tested and was actually like, yes sister. Then got it after the second sentence. Ugh, this man. I hate it. Damn, yes. As someone who's been the wife, tell her and tell her right now. I'll second the yes. Do you know why he is having a custody hearing for his son? Could this have maybe been that he is a serial cheater and he has cheated on a former partner or cheated with the mother of his son? Just my thoughts when I hear a situation like this. He told me they broke up because she changed a lot. He didn't use such neutral wording and became horrible. And he worked too much and wasn't around enough for her and their son. I have no idea how much of this is true. He told me a lot about the ex that made her seem very irrational and angry. But I feel like guys like him tend to like to make themselves the victims too, so who knows what she is really like. Edit. I really appreciate everyone's advice and sharing your past experiences. It's all been very helpful and was exactly what I was looking for. I'm going to tell the wife as anonymously as I can, as soon as I can, once I figure out how to do it in a way that makes me feel safe in case things explode. And now for the update. After protecting myself and my identity in what ways I could, I told the wife. I found her number and texted her a brief factual message that her husband cheated on her. The date we matched on Bumble, how I had no idea he was engaged or married, the fake last name, and how he never mentioned her but did mention other people in his life. I gave her a few screenshots to demonstrate that it went on over a series of months. She replied the next day thanking me. She said she was on her way to her parents' house and was planning on filing for divorce as soon as possible. She had been suspicious after testing positive for HPV about a month ago. As I and you guys suspected from the house being only in her name. Apparently, he is completely financially dependent on her, and everything he told me about having investments in small businesses is a lie. I also found out that in addition to a fake last name, he gave me a fake phone number too. She cautioned that he may try to retaliate once she gives him the news, and she will message me before she gives him the papers, so that I can go to a friend's house for a few days if I feel the need. It's been a stressful and emotional past few days. I'm upset that men like this exist, but proud of myself for telling her. Thankful to my friends and to all of you who encouraged me to tell her. Proud of her for leaving him. A little bit scared of what he will do. Sweet baby Jeebus. I'm so overjoyed to see two women taking care of each other instead of one placing blame on another who tried to do the right thing. You two are a wonderful example. Love this. I found two overseas best friends this way. Found out my ex-boyfriend had cheated on me with a plethora of girls, a few overseas who obviously didn't know him day to day. I legit created a group chat and added like 12 to 15 girls and explained I had an engagement ring on and we'd been together just over a year. After one of them messaged me genuinely terrified I would be fuming with her. I'd left him but didn't want them getting hurt. Not one of us was angry at the other. A few just moved on, but I ended up with two American besties who even helped me make the last few messages I sent him with facts from them to prove his cheating. Not one of them knew about me. I can't be pissed at them for that. I'm glad she's giving you the updates along the way so you can protect yourself. Sorry you have to go through this and happy that you're on the other side now. That's awesome, the wife seems chill about it. Maybe she already had suspicion of him doing it. Also, damn though. If she says he might retaliate, that's messed up. Stay safe. Good on you for outing a D-head. It's hard to say from just a short post. Based on what we were told in my own very unfortunate experiences, I would peg this guy for a narcissist. They distort reality and manipulate people at will in such crazy ways. When you call out the truth, you're assaulting them. It's extremely irrational, which is why it's so hard to manage. So if you hit them hard enough or enough times with truths that attack them and their false realities, they lash out, because in their world you're the enemy. And their actions are justified. My ex tried to start a fight with a lady in the airport one time because she was rude to her. The lady realized she struck a nerve with my ex and just kept needling her. I thought they were both acting like ignorant jerks. Bunch of grown women acting like children in public. When I told my ex I was embarrassed, she got mad at me. My mind was blown that she couldn't understand my point of view. Two 30-plus-year-old women fighting because someone cut in line. Here's some humor to close it out. How do you know a narcissist is lying? Their lips are moving. I started saying, just because you say it doesn't make it true, to my ex right before I vanished from his life. He never had anything to come back with on that.